stopped at his office on the way to retrieve an umbrella and arrange certain things for his shift the next day. He was seen on a security camera entering and leaving his office building. The footage shows him speaking to a man dressed in black before he entered the building. This man has never been identified. Deely was later seen on another security camera in front of a bank he passed on Haddington Road as he headed home on foot, which is the last image that exists of him. Despite continuous police investigations, his disappearance remains a mystery. Trevor Deely was born on August 15th of 1978 to parents Michael and Anne. He is the youngest of 4 siblings and grew up in Naas County, Kildare in Ireland. After finishing school, Deely studied business at the Waterford Institute of Technology, but dropped out in his second year. He subsequently completed a computer course in Dublin. In May of 1999, he began working in the IT department of Bank of Ireland in asset management on Leeson Street. In late November 2000, just weeks before his disappearance, Deely flew to Alaska in the United States. He flew on a discount that his friend procured for him due to his role as a long-haul flight attendant, which his friend described as free. He went over to see a girl that he had met in Dublin during the summer when she was holidaying in Ireland. The Christmas party was scheduled for Thursday, the 7th of December. After drinks in Copper-Faced Jack's and the Hilton Hotel, the party moved to Buck Whaley's nightclub on Lower Leeson Street. Deely left Buck Whaley's at about 3:25 a.m. He started walking in the direction of his apartment in the Renoir complex on Serpentine Avenue in Ballsbridge. There was a heavy storm that night with gusts as high as 60 or 70 miles per hour, and there was also a taxi strike. About 10 minutes after leaving the nightclub, Deely arrived at his office and was let in after calling security. While in his office, Deely made a cup of tea and spoke to a colleague, Carl Bender, who was working the night shift. He also checked his emails and made a note of things he needed to do in work the following morning. He left the office at 4:03 a.m., taking an umbrella with him, and continued in the direction of Ballsbridge. Around this time, he rang a friend of his in Naas and left a voicemail. His friend described the message as saying, "Hi Glenn, I've missed you there. Just on my way home. All going good. I'll talk to you tomorrow," or words to that very close effect. His friend deleted the message, not regarding it as significant, and investigators never sought to retrieve it. CCTV footage shows that a man dressed in black was waiting outside the gates of the bank for approximately half an hour before Deely arrived. cleared as colleagues of Deely. The man in black remains a person of interest. By the time Deely left the bank, this man was no longer waiting outside. At 4:14 a.m., CCTV footage shows Deely walking past what was the AIB Bank on the corner of Bagot Street Bridge and Haddington Road in the direction of his flat. About 30 seconds later, a man dressed in black passed by the bank. Gardai initially believed that this was the same man who had spoken to Deely outside of his office, but they subsequently identified and interviewed the man who was captured by the AIB CCTV footage and have indicated that they are satisfied that there is nothing suspicious about his movements and that he is not the same man as had spoken to Deely outside of his office. This footage represents the last known sighting of Deely. Deely's absence from work the following morning was not seen as a cause for concern, as it had been a late night. Additionally, his flatmates were away that weekend, so they did not know he was missing either. Only when Deely failed to show up the following Monday were alarm bells raised. His work informed his family. After ascertaining that nobody had spoken to Deely that weekend, they reported him a missing person. Over the following days, Deely's family and friends put up hundreds of posters, handed out thousands of leaflets, and went from house to house and business to business, inquiring if people had seen him. His friends were able to obtain the CCTV footage used in the investigation. Detective Sergeant Michael Fitzgerald, who worked on the case from the beginning, said, "I've never worked on a case where the family were so proactive." The delay between Deely being last seen and reported missing meant that that vital time was lost. The Garda Sub-Aqua team searched the River Dodder and the Grand Canal, but did not find anything. They were unable to drain the Grand Canal basin as it would affect the structural integrity of the surrounding buildings. Deely's sister Michelle said that she rang his phone a few times the weekend he went missing, and she believes that it rang out. According to Dr. Philip Perry, a senior research fellow in the Radio and Optical Communications Laboratory at Dublin City University, a phone in 2000 would have gone dead within seconds of falling into the water. However, Michelle said she is not 100% sure that it did actually ring. Gardai traveled to Alaska to speak to the girl who Deely had gone over to see before his disappearance. Deely's sisters also traveled to Alaska separately for the same purpose. The trips did not produce any leads. Deely's whereabouts remain unknown, and the case continues to spark interest. In December of 2016, a new investigation was opened. The following April, enhanced CCTV footage was released, leading to The same month, a reward was offered for any information. In August of 2017, Gardaí began a search of a 3-acre secluded area in the Dublin suburb of Chapelizod. Guys, any of you from Ireland, especially my viewer requested this, please pardon my absolute ignorance at pronouncing some of these things. I'm so sorry. About 8 kilometers from where Deely was last seen, an informant alleged that Deely was murdered on the night of his disappearance by a Kremlin-based criminal known to Gardaí. The gang he was involved with in drugs and prostitution in the area where Deely disappeared. The same gang was investigated for the murder of Sinead Kelly in June of 1998. The informant said that Deely and his alleged murderer had not known each other, and it was a chance encounter. Although a gun and drugs were found during the search, investigators concluded that they were not related to the case, calling the site a stash area for criminals. The search was called off in September, and Gardaí said at the time that they had not found anything that would assist them in the case. In December of 2023, Mark Deely, brother of Trevor Deely, said that the video of Deely on Haddington Road had been digitally enhanced, and Gardaí had determined that there was nothing suspicious about the movements of the man in black, who was seen walking along the footpath approximately 30 seconds behind Deely. The man seen in the video had been traced and interviewed and was no longer a person of interest, and was not the same man who had spoken to Deely outside of his office earlier that night. They are yet to identify the man waiting outside the bank for 30 minutes before Deely arrived, or figured out why the other 2 co-workers were standing outside the gate after Deely went in. So it's been 24 years that he's been missing without a single trace. It is amazing to me in this day and age that people can still disappear that way with absolutely no leads, never finding a body. That just blows my mind. Poor guy and his poor family that have absolutely no answers to where he is or what happened to him. That's a tough one, guys. Our next case is that of Mickey Shunick. It was the 19th of May, 2012, a Saturday. 21-year-old Mickey Shunick was due to attend her younger brother Zach's graduation that day with her family. She lived with her family on Governor Miro Drive in Lafayette, Louisiana. But the night before, that Friday night, Mickey went out with friends, and when her family were leaving for the graduation on that Saturday morning, Mickey was not at home. Mickey loved to go out and meet friends, but she was good at keeping commitments and was extremely close to her family, so her family knew it was unusual that she wasn't there on time to leave with them for the graduation, but they thought she may have fallen asleep at a friend's house and was just running late was there. She was not, and she wasn't answering any of their calls. Mickey's parents called a few of her friends. They discovered that she had been out on the Friday night with a number of friends, but left to get some food with Bradley Wilson. Bradley lived on Ryan Street, around 4 miles from where Mickey lived. He told Mickey's family that she had left his house around 1:45 a.m. on the Saturday morning, and she told him she was going home. She had her bicycle, so wanted to cycle home. Mickey's family reported her missing to the police. Police spoke to Bradley. He told them that he went to a bar with Mickey on that Friday night around 10:15 p.m. They went to that bar to have a few drinks and listen to live music. He said afterwards they both cycled back to his house and got his car and drove to a drive-thru Taco Bell. They went back to his house to have the food, and then according to Bradley, some other friends were planning to meet up for some food, but Mickey decided just to go home as she was tired. Police obtained surveillance footage from the bar and saw Mickey and Bradley on it. They were at the bar for around 2.5 hours, and it seemed like they had a good night when they left. They did not appear to be drunk. Surveillance footage from Taco Bell showed Bradley buying food in the drive-thru section. Police then obtained surveillance footage from the route where Mickey would have cycled on her way home. It was not unusual for her to cycle home. Police saw Mickey a number of times on the different footage they obtained from surveillance footage from different businesses along the route, which showed her cycling past. Due to that, they were able to pinpoint the exact street where Mickey went missing from St. Laundry Street. Further footage revealed that a white Chevy pickup truck was driving behind Mickey. Police searched the area to see if Mickey's bicycle was there. They wanted to establish whether there had been a hit and run, but they found nothing. 1 week after Mickey went missing, her bicycle was found at Whiskey Bay on the, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this river, but it's a hell of a spelling, y'all, which was 25 miles from where she was last seen. It looked like it had been hit by a car. Police released the surveillance footage of the white Chevy to the public and appealed for information. A citizen provided a tip to police, which led police to Texas. A white Chevy had been burned out in Texas. They traced it to the owner. The owner was Brandon Laverne. I think that's how his name is pronounced. A registered sex offender. In 2000, Brandon was arrested and charged with oral sexual battery. It was alleged that in 1999, he broke into a woman's house, tied her up, and forced her to perform a sexual act on him. He was sentenced to 10 years for that crime, but was released early in 2008. Police were able to place Brandon in the area where Mickey disappeared, and also the area where her bicycle was found. Police discovered that the day after Mickey went missing, Brandon checked himself into a hospital in New Orleans with stab wounds. Brandon said that he gas station but could not provide details to the police. Brandon was arrested and charged with aggravated kidnapping and murder. After his arrest, police confirmed that they found Mickey's body following a credible tip. Her body was found in a remote wooded area beside a cemetery off Route 10 in Evangeline Parish. The area is about 45 miles from where she was last seen. Police told Brandon that prosecutors would be seeking the death penalty. In exchange for taking the death penalty off the table, Brandon agreed to tell police what happened. In the early hours of the Saturday morning, 19th of May, Brandon had been driving around Lafayette and saw Mickey. He followed her in his truck and hit her bicycle on purpose with his truck. Mickey fell off her bike and he forced her into his truck. Brandon then put the bicycle in the bed of his truck, where he had a knife and a semi-automatic handgun in his possession. Mickey tried to call for help, and when she reached for her phone, he threatened her with the knife. At that point, Mickey used the pepper spray she had on her to spray him in the face, and she managed to get a hold of his knife. Mickey stabbed him several times. He grabbed the knife, and as a result, the tendons were cut in his hands. He stabbed Mickey 4 times. Brandon told police that she fell over and wasn't moving. He checked for a pulse, and there was none. He drove for 40 minutes and found a secluded place. He wanted to bury her body there. But Mickey wasn't dead. She jumped up and grabbed his knife and stabbed him in the chest. Brandon got his gun and shot Mickey in the head, killing her instantly. Brandon was badly injured. His injuries were described as life-threatening, so he drove home with Mickey's body in the passenger seat of his truck instead of burying her body. He got rid of his clothes and tried to treat his wounds. Afterwards, he drove to an old cemetery in Evangeline Parish to bury Mickey. He could not dig a hole due to his injuries. He left Mickey's body in a nearby tree line and covered her body with branches and debris. Brandon threw Mickey's bicycle under the bridge at Whiskey Bay. He then went to stay with a friend in New Orleans, and he received treatment for his injuries at a local hospital. When he got back to Lafayette, he went to the cemetery and buried Mickey's body in the woods beside it. He would then drive to San Jacinto, Texas, in his truck and burned it. He reported it to be stolen. He then bought an almost identical vehicle so that suspicion would not be raised. Brandon agreed to plead guilty to Mickey's murder to avoid the death penalty, but his confession didn't end there. He also pleaded guilty to a second murder. In June of 1999, Lisa Pate disappeared. Brandon met her in Lafayette and persuaded her to go out of town with him. She tried to leave, but he would not let her. Police believe he killed her by putting a plastic bag over her head, and her body was found in September of 1999. Mickey really thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers that suggested these two cases. I appreciate you guys so much. Highest compliment you can pay to the channel